The great council chamber stretched across 300 meters of polished crystal floor. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated sections, their forms ranging from the elegant silvery with their flowing tentacles to the massive rock-like Durnathi. At the center of it all, a holographic display showed the small blue planet called Earth. Ambassador Chen Wei stood alone at the speaking platform. He was a thin man with gray hair and calm eyes. Behind him on the display, Earth rotated slowly, looking peaceful and beautiful. Around him, the alien representatives whispered and clicked and hummed to each other in their various languages. The Earth question must be resolved, announced Speaker Vreel, a tall insect-like creature who led the council. His translator device turned his clicking sounds into words everyone could understand. It has been 150 years since the humans joined our council. In that time, they have contributed nothing of military value. Chen said nothing. He simply waited, his hands clasped behind his back. A massive hologram appeared above the floor. It showed human spaceships, small frigates with chemical rockets and basic laser weapons. Next to them, council warships looked like giants next to children. The contrast made several species laugh, a strange chorus of sounds that echoed through the chamber. "Primitive," said Ambassador Krez of the Zorathian Empire. He was a reptilian creature, twice Chen's height with scales that shimmered red and gold. Their ships still use combustion for thrust. Their weapons cannot penetrate modern shielding. Their scanning technology is centuries behind ours. More laughter rippled through the chamber. Chen's expression did not change. The Zorathian Empire formally proposes annexation of the Sol system. Krez continued, his voice booming. Earth's system contains valuable minerals and gases. The humans clearly cannot defend these resources. We will provide protection in exchange for mining rights. This is generous considering their military weakness. The word annexation was polite. Everyone in the chamber knew it meant conquest. Taking Earth's resources while giving humans no real choice in the matter. Chen finally stepped forward. Earth requests time to consider this proposal. Time? Krez's laugh was like rocks grinding together. What will time change, human? Will you suddenly develop technology that took other species millennia to create? Will your small ships grow larger? Will your weak weapons become strong? Nevertheless, Chen said quietly, we request 30 days to prepare our response. The chamber erupted in noise. Some species found this amusing. Others thought it was sad. A few felt pity for the humans who did not understand how powerless they were. Speaker Vril raised one of his forearms for silence. The human ambassador requests 30 days. Does anyone object to granting this request? No one objected. What difference could 30 days make? The council had seen Earth's military capabilities. They had detailed scans of every human warship, every orbital platform, every defense station. Earth had nothing that could threaten even a small Zorathian attack force, let alone their entire empire. Granted, Vril announced. 30 days from this moment, Ambassador Chen will return with Earth's response. This session is concluded. The representatives began to leave, still laughing and talking among themselves. Several approached Chen to offer what they thought was comfort. Perhaps you can negotiate favorable surrender terms, one suggested. The Zorathians are not completely unreasonable. Chen thanked them politely and left the chamber. His face remained calm, but those who knew humans well might have noticed the slightest smile at the corner of his mouth. On Earth, in the secure command center beneath the Swiss mountains, the message arrived within seconds. The room was filled with military officers and government leaders from every nation. They watched the council session recording in silence. They granted the 30 days, said General Morrison, a scarred veteran who had served in the unification wars before first contact. Just like we predicted, they think we're harmless, added Admiral Zhao from the Chinese Space Force. They've thought that for 150 years. President Okafor of the United Earth. Government stood and looked at the people around the table. They came from every continent, every culture. The old national flag still existed, but above them all flew the blue flag of United Earth. First contact had done what centuries of war could not. It had united humanity completely. Send the signal, Okafor said quietly. A technician's fingers moved across a console. A burst of encrypted data shot out from Earth, bounced off 3 satellites and raced toward the outer edges of the solar system. It traveled past Mars, past the asteroid belt, past Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus and Neptune. It went to a place where the sun was just another bright star in the darkness. In the Kuiper belt, billions of kilometers from Earth, something received the signal. The structure had no name that appeared in any public record. Official documents called it Mining Station KBO 4047. Civilian telescopes that happened to point in that direction saw what looked like a large asteroid with some industrial equipment. The camouflage was perfect, but it was not a mining station. Deep inside the structure, systems that had been dormant for months began to wake up. Fusion reactors cycled to full power. Gravity generators came online. Life support systems started pumping air through corridors that were larger than city streets. Lights flickered on, one section at a time, revealing the truth. The structure was not built on an asteroid. It was not a station at all, it was a ship, the largest ship humanity had ever constructed. The largest ship anyone had ever constructed. In the crew quarters, 50,000 men and women began to emerge from their stasis pods. They had been asleep for 6 months, waiting for this moment. Officers checked their systems and assembled their teams. Engineers ran diagnostics on weapons that had never been fired in combat. Fighter pilots walked to their craft with the calm confidence of people who had trained for this their entire lives. On the main bridge, Captain Sarah Okonkwo opened her eyes and took her first breath in half a year. The stasis pod opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. She stepped out, her dark skin illuminated by the red emergency lights that would stay on until the ship reached full operational status. A medical officer approached with a scanner. "How do you feel, Captain?" "Ready," Sarah said. Her voice was steady and strong. She walked to the bridge window, a massive transparent panel that showed the stars. Somewhere in that darkness was Earth, home, the planet she had sworn to protect. Behind her, a junior officer approached. "Captain, we have the activation signal. All systems are responding normally. We can begin departure procedures in 17 hours. Sarah nodded. "Prepare the crew. Set course for Earth. Maximum stealth protocols." "Yes, ma'am." "Captain?" The young officer hesitated. "Do you think they'll actually attack?" Sarah looked out at the stars for a long moment. The Zorathians have crushed 12 species in the last 3 centuries. They see strength and they respect it. They see weakness and they consume it. For 150 years we've shown them weakness. But it was all fake, the officer said. The weak ships, the primitive weapons. It was all theater. "Yes," Sarah agreed. "And in 30 days the show ends." She turned from the window. Behind her, visible through the transparent steel, the massive hull of the ship began to rotate. Running lights flickered to life along its surface, thousands of them like stars being born. The ship was 500 kilometers long, a dark continent floating in space. Humanity had spent 140 years building it. 140 years of secret construction, hidden from every scanner and spy satellite the galaxy could deploy. 140 years of patience. The ship had a name, though very few people in the universe knew it yet. They called it Prometheus, and it was coming home. The Prometheus moved through the darkness like a shadow. Its engines produced almost no heat signature. Its hull absorbed scanner waves instead of reflecting them. To anyone watching, that region of space appeared empty. The ship that could carry a small city's population was invisible. Captain Sarah Okonkwo sat in her ready room, reviewing files that dated back 140 years. The history of the Ghost Project. The history of humanity's greatest secret. The first file was a video. She had watched it dozens of times, but she played it again. An old recording from the week after first contact. On the screen, the leaders of Earth's nations sat around a table. The date stamp read April 15, 2045. 1 week after the Galactic Council's ships had appeared in Earth's sky. 1 week after humanity learned they were not alone in the universe. "They're friendly," said one leader, a woman from India. "They've offered us membership in their council, access to their technology, their trade networks. They've also shown us their military capabilities," said another, a man from Brazil. "We watched their demonstration. One of their cruisers destroyed an asteroid the size of Manhattan in 3 seconds. Silence fell over the room. Everyone had seen that demonstration. Everyone understood what it meant. Earth's most powerful weapons were firecrackers compared to what the Council possessed. "We have 2 choices," said the American president. We can try to catch up to their technology level, competing openly, or we can accept that we're weak and hope they remain friendly. There's a third option, said the Chinese premier. He was an old man with sharp eyes. We pretend to be weak while we become strong. The room had fallen silent. On the video, Sarah watched the faces as they understood what he was suggesting. A deception that lasts decades, said the Russian Minister of Defense. Perhaps centuries. We show them primitive ships while we build something they can't imagine. It would require total unity, said the European Union representative. Every nation working together. No leaks, no competition, no wars among ourselves. If we fight each other, the deception fails. And it would be expensive, added the Japanese Prime Minister. Incredibly expensive. The Chinese premier had nodded slowly. It would cost us 30% of our combined economic output. For a century or more, our people would have less. Our cities would grow more slowly. We would sacrifice an entire generation's prosperity. But our children would be safe, said the African Union chairman quietly. Our grandchildren would be protected. We would give them a shield. The video showed the vote. It was unanimous. Every nation agreed. The Ghost Project was born that day. Sarah closed the file and opened the next one. Construction records. Decade by decade, the massive project had grown in the Kuiper Belt. Mining ships that were exactly what they appeared to be had been sent to harvest materials. Slowly, carefully, always looking like normal industrial activity. Nothing that would make the Council suspicious. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity had played its part perfectly. They had built the ships the Council expected them to build. Small vessels with chemical rockets, weapons that seemed primitive, defense platforms that looked barely functional. Every few years they showed slight improvements, just enough to seem like they were trying, not enough to seem dangerous. The Council had bought the deception completely. Why wouldn't they? No species in galactic history had ever hidden their military development so perfectly. The very idea seemed impossible. A chime at her door interrupted Sarah's thoughts. "Come in," Commander James Park entered. He was her second in command, a Korean-American who had trained his entire life for this mission. "Captain, you wanted to see the weapons inventory?" "Show me," Sarah said. A holographic display appeared between them. It showed the Prometheus in cross-section, revealing the internal structure. The ship was divided into sections, each larger than any vessel the Council had ever built. Bay 1 through Bay 20 contain our strike craft, Park said. 10,000 total. Each one has jump drive capability and quantum shielding. The Council doesn't know we solved jump drive equations differently than they did. Our fighters can make short-range jumps. Theirs can't, Sarah nodded. The jump drives had been humanity's first major breakthrough. Galactic species used them for traveling between star systems, but the drives were too large for small craft. Human engineers had miniaturized the technology. It had taken 40 years, but they had succeeded. Bay 21 through Bay 40 house our capital ships, Park continued. 200 vessels ranging from destroyer to dreadnought class. All equipped with graviton cannons. How many species have graviton weapons? Sarah asked, though she knew the answer. 3, Park said. The Eldar Collective, the Hive Chorus, and the Vorlani Empire. The Council considers them restricted technology. They don't know we've been buying broken parts on the black market for decades and reverse engineering them. The hologram zoomed in on the Prometheus's main weapon, a massive cannon that ran through the center of the ship like a spine. The Singularity Projector, Park said quietly. Tested twice in the last 10 years. Both times in deep interstellar space where no one could detect it. Both times successful. Sarah studied the weapon. It could create a temporary black hole at a targeted location. The black hole would exist for only seconds before evaporating. But those seconds were enough to destroy anything nearby. It was the kind of weapon that could change the course of a battle in moments. What about defenses? She asked. Quantum shielding on the main hull. It uses probability manipulation to make incoming weapons fire less likely to hit us. We're not sure the Council even knows this technology is possible. Our scientists discovered it by accident while researching their phase shields. Sarah leaned back in her chair. We took their technology and improved it. Not just improved it, Captain. We hybridized it. We combined technologies from dozens of different species in ways they never imagined. They think each species follows a single technological path. They don't understand human creativity. That was the truth of it. The Council species were brilliant, but they were specialized. Each had their own approach to technology, their own unique innovations. But they rarely combined approaches. They stayed in their lanes. Humans had no lane. They had studied every piece of alien technology they could buy, trade for, or steal. They had torn it apart and put it back together in new ways. They had asked questions the original inventors never considered. "What's our crew status?" Sarah asked. "All 50,000 personnel are out of stasis and at their stations. Medical reports no complications. Engineers report all systems functioning at optimal levels. We're ready for combat operations. Time to Earth? 21 days at current speed. We're maintaining full stealth protocols. The Council has no idea we're here." Sarah stood and walked to the window of her ready room. Outside, space looked empty, but she knew that somewhere in that darkness, her fighter pilots were running training exercises. Engineers were performing final weapons checks. Marines were drilling for boarding actions. "Commander, have you thought about what happens after?" she asked quietly. "After we reveal ourselves?" "Yes, the Council will know we deceived them. They'll know we're not the weak species they thought we were. Some of them will be angry. Some will be afraid. Fear and anger together can be dangerous." Park was quiet for a moment. "My grandfather helped design the first stealth coating for the Prometheus. He died before construction was even 20% complete. He told me something before he passed. He said the strong don't need to boast. They don't need to threaten. They just need to be strong. Your grandfather was wise. He also said that once you show your strength, you have to be ready to use it. Not eagerly, but without hesitation if necessary. The galaxy respects strength, but only if you're willing to back it up." Sarah nodded slowly. That was the weight of command. The Prometheus was powerful enough to challenge any force in the galaxy. But power meant responsibility. It meant making decisions that would affect billions of lives. "Captain," Park said, "I've seen the intelligence reports on the Zorathians. They've conquered 12 species. They've destroyed 4 species completely when those species resisted. They're bullies, and bullies only understand one language. Force," Sarah said. "Yes, ma'am." Sarah looked at the stars for a long moment. "Then we'll speak to them in a language they understand. But we'll give them one chance to back down peacefully. And if they don't," Sarah's expression hardened, "then they'll learn that Earth is not defenseless. They'll learn that humanity has spent 140 years preparing for this exact moment. And they'll learn that we do not bluff." She turned back to Park. "Inform all departments to continue battle preparations. I want every system running at 100%. In 3 weeks, we're going to shock the entire galaxy. Let's make sure we're ready." Park saluted and left the ready room. Sarah remained by the window, watching the stars stream past. Somewhere ahead was Earth. Home. And somewhere out there, the Zorathian fleet was gathering, confident that humanity would surrender without a fight. They were wrong. The Prometheus continued its silent journey through the dark, a ghost ship carrying humanity's hopes and fury toward a confrontation that would change the galaxy forever. The galactic news networks could not stop talking about Earth. Every broadcast, every channel, every feed discussed the same thing: humanity's impending surrender. Day 25, announced the news anchor, a crystalline being whose body refracted light in beautiful patterns. Only 5 days remain until Earth must answer the Zorathian annexation proposal. Sources close to the Council report that Ambassador Chen has not contacted any representatives for negotiations. Many experts believe the humans are paralyzed with fear. The broadcast switched to a panel of military analysts from different species. A Vorlani general spoke first, his voice deep and rumbling. "I feel sympathy for the humans. They are in an impossible position. The Zorathian fleet gathering at their borders numbers 3,000 warships. This is the largest military force assembled in 500 years. 3,000 ships against Earth's defense force of approximately 200 vessels," added a silvery strategist, her tentacles gesturing expressively. "The humans cannot win. They cannot even fight. Their best option is immediate surrender and hope for favorable terms." "I disagree," said a third analyst, a small furred creature from the Cathari Confederation. "The humans have shown remarkable stubbornness in the past. They might attempt resistance." The Vorlani general made a sound like grinding stone, which his translator rendered as laughter. "Resistance would be suicide. I have reviewed human military capabilities extensively. Their weapons cannot penetrate modern shielding. Their ships are too slow to escape. It would not be a battle. It would be an execution. On Earth, in the command center, President Okafor watched the broadcast with several advisors. General Morrison muted the sound. "They're making betting pools," Morrison said with disgust. "The Galactic Commerce Net has odds on how long we'll last. Most bets say we surrender within the first hour." "Let them bet," Okafor said calmly. "They'll lose their money soon enough." An aide approached with a data pad. "Madam President, the Zorathian fleet has arrived at the designated coordinates. Admiral Krez is broadcasting on all channels. He's demanding Earth's surrender." "Show me." The screen changed to show Admiral Krez on the bridge of his flagship. The Zorathian admiral was enormous, his scales polished to a brilliant shine, his eyes cold and reptilian. Behind him, through the viewport, hundreds of warships were visible in perfect formation. "Humans of Earth," Krez's voice boomed, "I speak to you now from the edge of your solar system. Behind me are 3,000 ships of the Zorathian Empire. We represent power beyond your imagination. I give you one final opportunity. Surrender now. Open your world to Zorathian administration. Accept our protection. Do this and your people will be allowed to live under our rule." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Refuse and we will take what we want by force. Your ships will be destroyed. Your orbital platforms will be reduced to debris. Your cities will burn. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. You have 1 hour." The transmission ended. The command center was silent. 1 hour, Morrison said. "Arrogant bastard. Where's Ambassador Chen?" asked Okafor. "At the council chambers. He requested an emergency session. They granted it, but they're broadcasting it live across the entire galaxy." "Of course they are," Okafor said with a thin smile. "They want everyone to watch us surrender. They want to make an example of Earth." "Madam President," said Admiral Zhao. "The Prometheus." Okafor checked her secure pad. A single line of text displayed. "Prometheus position, Saturn orbit, holding station. All systems ready. Captain Okonkwo is in position," she said quietly. "Now we wait for Chen to do his part." In the great council chamber, the session was beginning. Every seat was filled. Representatives from all 47 member species attended, and observers from dozens of non-member species crowded the galleries. The broadcast was being watched by trillions across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see humanity surrender. Ambassador Chen stood at the speaking platform looking as calm as ever. His gray suit was perfectly pressed. His face showed no emotion. Speaker Vril called the session to order. "Ambassador Chen, you requested this emergency session. The council grants you the floor. Will you announce Earth's decision?" "I will," Chen said simply. "But first I request that this broadcast be transmitted to every corner of known space. What I say must be heard by all." Vril's insect-like features showed confusion, but he nodded. "It is already being broadcast widely. Speak, human." Chen looked directly at the cameras. He knew that somewhere Krez was watching. He knew that on Earth, billions of humans watched. He knew that across the galaxy, countless beings waited to see humanity bow. "The Zorathian Empire has proposed annexation of the Sol system," Chen began. "They claim they offer protection in exchange for our resources. They claim we are too weak to defend ourselves. They claim we have no choice but to accept their terms." He paused. The chamber was absolutely silent. "On behalf of the United Earth Government and all of humanity, I respond with a single word. No." The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted in their various languages. Some sounded shocked. Others sounded excited. A few sounded afraid. Chen waited for the noise to die down, then continued. "However, we acknowledge the Zorathian Empire's right to test our claim. We cannot expect the galaxy to accept our word alone. Therefore, we invoke the ancient right of trial by fire." Trial by fire. Every species in the council knew what that meant. It was an old tradition, rarely used. When two powers disputed a claim, they could agree to settle it through military demonstration. Not a war, but a single battle under agreed conditions. "We have transmitted coordinates to the Zorathian fleet," Chen said. "An open region of space between Jupiter and Saturn. No civilians nearby. No risk to innocents. We will meet them there in 8 hours. We will demonstrate whether Earth can defend itself or not." Admiral Krez's face appeared on a split screen. He was laughing. "You wish to fight? You condemn your people to death? Very well, human. We accept your trial by fire. In 8 hours, we will show the galaxy what happens to those who refuse the Zorathian Empire." The transmission cut. The council chamber dissolved into chaos. Representatives argued and shouted. Some demanded the trial be cancelled. Others wanted to watch what they thought would be a massacre. Speaker Vril finally restored order. Ambassador Chen, are you certain of this course? The Zorathians will not show mercy in battle. We ask for no mercy, Chen replied. We ask only for a fair fight witnessed by all. On Earth, evacuation sirens began to wail in every major city. Civilians fled to underground shelters. The media broadcast urgent warnings. It looked like a planet preparing for defeat and occupation. But it was all theater. Every civilian knew the drill. They had practiced this evacuation hundreds of times. The shelters were real, but the panic was staged. Earth wanted the galaxy to see a frightened world preparing for the worst. In orbit around Saturn, the Prometheus waited. Captain Okonkwo stood on her bridge watching the clock count down. 8 hours until the trial by fire began. Captain, Commander Park said, the Zorathian fleet is moving to the coordinates. All 3,000 ships. They're coming in full battle formation. What about our public defense force? The 50 frigates and destroyers are moving into position. They're transmitting on all frequencies, acting scared. It's quite a performance. Sarah smiled slightly. Those 50 ships were crewed by volunteers who knew exactly what they were doing. They would hold position until the Prometheus arrived. They would look weak and frightened. They would sell the deception perfectly. Quantum cloaking status? Holding perfectly, Captain. We are completely invisible to their scanners. As far as the Zorathians know, we don't exist. Sarah nodded. The quantum cloak was perhaps humanity's greatest achievement. It didn't just hide the ship from sensors. It made the ship probabilistically unlikely to be detected. It bent the laws of physics themselves to remain unseen. All crews to battle stations, Sarah ordered. Begin final weapons check. I want every system perfect. In 8 hours, we stop hiding. In 8 hours, the galaxy learns the truth about Earth. Around her, the bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. These men and women had trained for years for this moment. They were ready. In the command center on Earth, President Okafor watched multiple screens showing different broadcasts. Every major news network in the galaxy was covering the story. The betting pools had shifted. Now people were wagering on how many minutes Earth ships would survive. They think this is entertainment, General Morrison said bitterly. Let them, Okafor replied. In a few hours, they'll understand that this was never entertainment. This was a lesson. We're teaching the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity. The clock continued its countdown. 8 hours became 7. 7 became 6. The Zorathian fleet moved into position. 3,000 warships gleaming in the light of the distant sun. Earth's tiny defense force held their position. Looking pitifully small in comparison, the galaxy watched and waited for what everyone assumed would be a quick and brutal demonstration of Zorathian power. No one suspected the truth. No one except the 50,000 crew, members aboard the Prometheus waiting in the darkness, ready to emerge and shock the universe. The designated battle space between Jupiter and Saturn was empty except for the fleets. On one side, 3,000 Zorathian warships hung in perfect formation, their hulls reflecting starlight like scales on a vast serpent. On the other side, 50 human ships looked impossibly small and fragile. Every camera drone in the sector was recording. Every news network in the galaxy broadcast the scene. Trillions watched from their homes, their offices, their ships. The general consensus was that this would be over quickly. Admiral Krez stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator. He looked at the human ships with something close to pity. They were so small, so primitive. Their formation was defensive, clustering together like frightened children. Open a channel, he ordered. His face appeared on every screen, visible to both fleets and broadcast across the galaxy. Human vessels, this is your final opportunity. Surrender now. Power down your weapons. Accept Zorathian rule. Your deaths will serve no purpose. On the bridge of the human frigate Resolution, Captain Marcus Webb listened to the transmission. He was a young man, barely 30, with steady hands and calm eyes. Around him, his crew waited for his response. Marcus activated his transmitter. This is Captain Webb of the UESS Resolution, representing the United Earth Defense Force. We respectfully decline your offer, Admiral. We are authorized to inform you that Earth's full military response will arrive shortly. Krez's laughter boomed across the channel. Full military response? These 50 ships are your full response? We have studied your capabilities, human. We know everything you possess. There are no hidden fleets. There are no secret weapons. There's only this. You are correct on one point, Admiral, Marcus said calmly. You have studied everything we showed you, everything we wanted you to see, but you never asked the right question. And what question is that? What were we building while you were watching? Krez's expression changed slightly. Confusion crossed his reptilian features. You build nothing that our sensors cannot detect. You have no shipyards that we don't know about. You have no— He stopped. On every Zorathian ship, alarms began to sound. Scanner operators stared at their displays in confusion and growing fear. Admiral, his sensor officer reported, voice shaking. I'm detecting a spatial anomaly. Massive energy readings. Something is emerging from quantum cloak. Bearing 027, distance 50,000 kilometers. Impossible, Krez said. Nothing that large could hide from our sensors. Sir, the energy signature is— I've never seen anything like this. It's enormous. Space itself seemed to tear open. Reality rippled and bent. The quantum cloak that had hidden the Prometheus for 3 weeks dissolved like morning mist. The Prometheus appeared, 500 kilometers long, 100 kilometers wide, a continent of metal and weapons and fury, materializing from nothing. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, covered in angular armor plates that seemed to drink in light. Thousands of weapon ports lined its surface. Launch bays gaped open like the mouths of caves. And at its center, the massive singularity cannon pointed forward like the finger of an angry god. For 10 full seconds, every broadcast went silent. Camera drones struggled to capture the entire ship in frame. It was too big, too massive. Nothing this large should exist. Nothing this large could exist. On the Devastator's bridge, Admiral Krez stared in shock. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Around him, his officers sat frozen, unable to process what they were seeing. The galactic news feeds erupted. Anchors shouted in confusion. Military experts stammered, trying to explain the impossible. The betting pools collapsed as people realized their assumptions had been completely wrong. In the council chambers, Speaker Vril rose from his seat, all forearms spread wide in astonishment. What is that? How did they build that? Ambassador Chen sat calmly in his seat, a small smile on his face. We have been busy, Speaker. Very busy. On the Prometheus, Captain Sarah Okonkwo sat in her command chair, watching the Zorathian fleet scramble to respond. Their perfect formation was breaking apart. Ships turned toward the massive carrier, weapons powering up, but moving with the hesitancy of predators who suddenly realized their prey might be more dangerous than expected. All stations report ready. Captain, Commander Park said. Open all launch bays, Sarah ordered. Launch the fleet. The Prometheus's sides seemed to explode with light and motion. Launch bay doors opened along the entire length of the ship. From each bay, strike craft poured out like angry hornets from a disturbed nest. 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 small ships burst into space. Each one was sleek and deadly, equipped with weapons that the Zorathians had never seen on craft that size. But that was not all. From the larger bays, capital ships emerged, destroyers and cruisers and battleships, each one as large as the Zorathian vessels, each one built with technology that combined the best of 47 different species and improved upon it. 200 capital ships took position around the Prometheus, forming a battle formation that dwarfed Earth's token defense force. The 50 human frigates that had been waiting quietly moved aside, their job done. They had been bait, and the Zorathians had taken it completely. Admiral Krez, Sarah's voice rang out across all channels. I am Captain Sarah Okonkwo of the United Earth stellar ship Prometheus. You claimed Earth was defenseless. You were wrong. You claimed we had no military capability. You were wrong. You claimed we would surrender. You were very wrong. She paused, letting her words sink in. I offer you one chance, Admiral. One opportunity. Withdraw your fleet. Leave our system. Never threaten Earth again. Do this and no blood will be spilled today. On the Devastator, Krez found his voice. It was filled with rage and something else. Something that might have been fear. You built one ship. One. We have 3,000. You are outnumbered. We are ready, Sarah interrupted. Are you? For a moment, the universe held its breath. 3,000 Zorathian ships faced the Prometheus and its fleet. It should have been an overwhelming advantage. But something had changed. The confidence was gone. Doubt crept into the hearts of the Zorathian warriors. Krez made his decision. Pride overcame caution. All ships. Attack formation. Destroy that carrier. Fire at will. The Zorathian fleet surged forward. 3,000 ships, their weapons charging, prepared to overwhelm the human forces through sheer numbers. Sarah's expression hardened. They chose poorly. All ships weapons free. Show them what Earth has built. The battle began. The Zorathian ships opened fire first. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the Prometheus. It looked like a wave of destruction. Enough firepower to destroy a small planet. The wave hit the Prometheus's shields and simply disappeared. The quantum shields didn't block the attacks. They made it probabilistically unlikely that the attacks would hit at all. Beams veered off course at the last second. Missiles detonated harmlessly kilometers away. It was as if luck itself protected the human carrier. Return fire, Sarah ordered calmly. The Prometheus's weapon ports lit up. Graviton cannons fired, their beams invisible but devastating. Where they struck Zorathian ships, the vessels simply crumpled, their armor compressed by artificial gravity into balls of twisted metal. 30 ships died in the first salvo. The human strike craft swarmed forward. They were fast, incredibly fast, and they moved in ways that seemed impossible. They jumped, making short-range teleports that let them appear behind Zorathian vessels, fire, and jump away before return fire could track them. It was like fighting ghosts. The 200 human capital ships joined the fight. Their weapons were precise and brutal. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields and armor before detonating inside enemy ships. Plasma cannons fired streams of star-hot gas that melted through hulls. Railguns accelerated slugs to relativistic speeds, punching through multiple ships in a single shot. The Zorathians tried to adapt. They concentrated fire on individual human ships. They attempted flanking maneuvers. They used tactics that had won them hundreds of battles. Nothing worked. The human ships were too fast, too advanced, too well coordinated. They fought with a precision that suggested every crew member knew exactly what every other crew member was doing. It was beautiful and terrible, a dance of destruction choreographed by commanders who had spent decades planning for this exact battle. "Admiral," Sarah called across the channel, "you can still retreat. You've lost 300 ships. Don't make it worse." Krez's response was a roar of fury. "All ships, focus fire on that carrier. Destroy it!" The Zorathian fleet turned its full attention to the Prometheus. Every weapon that could reach the massive ship fired at once. It was the largest concentrated barrage in galactic history. Sarah watched the attack splash harmlessly against her shields. "Commander Park, I think the Admiral needs a demonstration. Fire the singularity cannon." Park's fingers moved across his console. "Target locked, firing." The massive cannon at the center of the Prometheus glowed with an eerie purple light. Space itself seemed to bend around it. Then it fired. A sphere of absolute darkness appeared in the center of the Zorathian formation. For 1 second it was there. A hole in reality, a tiny black hole that swallowed light itself. Ships near it were pulled inward, unable to escape the gravity well. 30 vessels were drawn into the sphere. 7 days after the battle, the Great Council chamber was packed beyond capacity. Every representative was present. Observers filled the galleries. Security drones floated everywhere, ensuring order. The mood was tense, uncertain, and above all shocked. The galaxy was still trying to process what had happened. The footage had been viewed billions of times. Military analysts studied every second of the battle. Scientists examined the energy readings. Everyone wanted to understand how humanity had hidden such power for so long. Ambassador Chen stood at the speaking platform, looking the same as always. Calm, composed, unshakable. But now when he spoke, the chamber fell silent immediately. No one interrupted him anymore. No one laughed. "The Council asked Earth to respond to the Zorathian annexation proposal," Chen began. "We have responded. The trial by fire has concluded. The result is clear. Earth can and will defend itself." Speaker Vril nodded slowly. He had barely slept in 7 days, trying to manage the political chaos that followed the battle. The Council acknowledges Earth's military capabilities. The assessment of human defensive capacity has been revised significantly. Revised significantly. That was diplomatic language for, "We were completely wrong about everything." However, Vril continued, "the Council requires answers. How did you build such a vessel without our knowledge? How did you develop technologies that match or exceed some of our most advanced species? How did you hide this from our censors, our spies, our trade networks? Chen smiled slightly. With respect, Speaker, we did not hide anything. We simply did not advertise. Every piece of technology on the Prometheus came from reverse engineering equipment we purchased legally through galactic trade. Every material was mined from our own system. Every component was built by human hands in our own shipyards. We broke no laws. We violated no treaties. We simply chose not to announce our military development publicly. For 140 years, ma'am, said a representative from the Silvari Collective, her tentacles writhing with agitation. You deceived us for nearly a century and a half. We protected ourselves, Chen corrected gently. We knew we were weak when we joined the council. We knew we needed time to become strong, so we bought that time with patience and careful planning. Would you have done differently in our position? The question hung in the air. Several representatives looked uncomfortable. The truth was that many of their own species had done similar things in their own histories. Building strength in secret was not new. The scale of humanity's deception was what shocked them. A new voice spoke up. It belonged to Admiral Vex of the Vorlani Stellar Navy, one of the Council's most respected military minds. Ambassador Chen, our intelligence services have detected something disturbing. Scanner sweeps of your Kuiper Belt region show 2 more structures similar to the Prometheus. Both appear to be under construction. Both are larger than the first vessel. Chen nodded calmly. That is correct. The UESS Icarus and UESS Atlas are scheduled for completion within 3 years. We also have preliminary designs for a 4th carrier, though construction has not yet begun. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted questions and protests. How many more ships was Earth building? What were their intentions? Was this the beginning of human expansion? Vril called for order, his voice amplified until it drowned out the others. Ambassador Chen, the Council needs assurance that Earth does not plan aggressive expansion. The power you have revealed is considerable. The power we revealed represents 140 years of effort, Chen replied, but it is defensive in nature. Earth has no interest in conquering other worlds. We simply refuse to be conquered ourselves. Surely the Council can understand the difference. Words are easy, said Ambassador Krez. He looked diminished now, stripped of his rank and facing charges in the Zorathian Empire for losing so many ships. But he had been brought to testify. Actions speak louder. What are your actions, human? Chen turned to face Krez directly. Our actions? We are arresting you, Admiral Krez, and 27 other Zorathian commanders on charges of attempted genocide. The Zorathian Empire's ultimatum constituted a threat to exterminate human cities if we did not surrender. That violated 17 different galactic laws regarding warfare and civilian protection. Krez's scales flushed dark red. You cannot arrest a Zorathian admiral. We have immunity. You have immunity for legal military actions, Chen interrupted. Threatening to burn civilian population centers is not legal. Council laws are very clear on this point. We have submitted the evidence to the Court of Galactic Justice. They have issued the warrants. You will stand trial. It was a bold move. Aggressive, even. But Chen's expression showed no hesitation. This was not a request. This was a statement of fact. Speaker Vril looked at his advisors, who consulted their databases frantically. After a moment, one nodded. The human is correct. The threats made by Admiral Krez do violate wartime conduct laws. The court has jurisdiction. Security drones moved toward Krez, who stood frozen in shock. For the first time in Zorathian history, one of their flag officers was being arrested by galactic authorities. It was humiliating. It was also completely legal. The Zorathian Empire will not stand for this, Krez shouted as the drones escorted him from the chamber. We will... But his voice faded as he was removed. Everyone in the chamber understood the implications. The Zorathian Empire was not in a position to make threats. Not anymore. Their fleet had been shattered. Their military prestige was destroyed, and now their own admiral faced trial for war crimes. The Zorathian Empire's power was crumbling. Chen waited for the noise to die down, then continued. Earth also formally petitions for full military partnership status in the Council. We have demonstrated our capability. We have proven we can contribute to galactic security. We request a seat on the Military Coordination Board. This was the real ask. The Military Coordination Board was the most powerful body in the Council. after the speaker's assembly. Only 7 species held seats there, the 7 strongest military powers in the galaxy. Earth wanted to be the 8th. "This is unprecedented," said the Eldar Collective representative. "Species typically wait centuries before achieving such status." "We did wait," Chen pointed out. "We waited 150 years while we prepared. Now we are ready. The Council can accept this reality or continue to deny it, but the facts do not change. Earth possesses one of the most advanced military forces in the galaxy. It makes sense for us to help coordinate galactic defense." Ambassador Vex of the Vorlani spoke again. "I support this petition. Earth has proven their capability. More importantly, they have proven their restraint. They could have destroyed the entire Zarathian fleet. They chose not to. That shows wisdom." "I agree," said the Hive Chorus representative speaking through their translation network. "Earth should be welcome to the Military Coordination Board. We need creative thinking. The humans have demonstrated that in abundance." One by one, other representatives voiced their support. Not all of them were enthusiastic. Some were clearly wary of Earth's new power. But they could not deny the logic. Earth was strong, and strong powers needed to be included in decision-making, not excluded. The vote was called. 41 species voted in favor. 4 voted against. 2 abstained. Earth was now one of the great military powers of the galaxy. Chen bowed slightly. "The United Earth Government thanks the Council for this recognition. We look forward to contributing to galactic security and peace." As the session ended and representatives began to leave, several approached Chen. Some wanted to congratulate him. Others wanted to negotiate trade deals. Earth's technology was suddenly very valuable. A few wanted to discuss defense treaties. 3 species specifically requested defensive alliances. They had been worried about threats from larger neighbors. Now they saw Earth as a potential protector. Chen handled each conversation with the same calm professionalism he had shown for 150 years. But inside he felt a deep satisfaction. The plan had worked. Earth was safe. Humanity was respected. The age of being underestimated was over. On the Prometheus, now in high orbit around Earth, Captain Sarah Okonkwo stood in the observation deck. Below her, the planet rotated slowly, blue and white and green, beautiful and precious. Home. Commander Park joined her. "How does it feel, Captain?" "Being the most famous ship commander in the galaxy," Sarah smiled. "Strange. Yesterday we were a secret. Today everyone knows our name. I'm not sure I like the attention. You'll get used to it. Fleet Command is talking about promoting you to Admiral. They want you to lead the entire Ghost Fleet once the other carriers are complete." "I heard." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Do you think we did the right thing, Commander? Revealing ourselves like this? We didn't have much choice. The Zarathians forced our hand. True, but now everyone knows what we can do. The secret is gone. We can't hide anymore," Park nodded. "But maybe that's good. We don't need to hide anymore. We're strong enough to stand in the light." Sarah considered this. He was right, of course. Hiding had been necessary when humanity was weak. But they were not weak anymore. They had built something incredible. Something that would protect Earth for generations, Captain. A junior officer approached. "Message from Fleet Command. They're scheduling the launch ceremony for the Icarus and Atlas.